Guys, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Guys, welcome. Need to change that there. I'm just setting up. If you are here, welcome. Thank you for joining me. If there's any specific topic areas you would like to cover, then please do ask. There we go. So I thought for tonight, I would start to look at obviously the year 12 content because obviously that is where a lot of students struggle, and it's one of the places where you want to ensure that you have got a good grasp on the module 2, module 3, and module 4 content before going in. Amna, how are you? Oh, how's the summer going? Today's been actually really nice. I went for a really long walk down by the River Cam, which was nice. I've been a bit lost, to be honest. It's a bit of a strange one because I've had so much focus on what I've been doing with you guys that it just got to the point where I had actually gone, what do I do with myself now? So yeah, I have to get myself back into actually now thinking about September. So yeah, so that's what my summer's been like so far. I've still got the girls are still at school, so I've got a couple of weeks yet to finish things off. But yeah, how's your summer going? You're now finished. Woohoo, you did it. You managed to get to the end point. What are you going to do with yourself now that you don't actually have any studying to do? Or are you going to start getting ready for uni? I always have this whole thing about when it comes to university or it comes to the starting stuff in September, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do so much work. I'm going to get so much done. And then it never happens. Thank you. It's a funny one. It's the year 12s that are just about to go into year 13. I don't want them to get to the same point where last year I started this channel and everyone was like, oh, I didn't know you existed. And I thought, oh, yeah, a year on, it'll be fine. But so many people were only finding me the day before the exams. It's crazy. The night before, and oh, thank you, Dr. Tempest. That's really lovely to hear. I'm glad that you are now finished, that you get the summer to relax and enjoy your time off. It's a funny one. It's the only summer, really, I would say to you, you get the time to enjoy yourself. So actually take it because whether you go into university or whether you go straight into the workplace, it's one of those things that you'll either be doing assignments or learning stuff if it's the summer holidays and you're at uni, or if you're actually going into the workplace, you're then going to have to do basically work and then pick and choose when you have your holidays. You never get this like long break like you've got now. So if I could go back, I would say definitely enjoy the summer, enjoy this last little time. The end of year 11, the end of year 13 are the two times when you can actually enjoy the summer before you start on your next whatever journey that may be. So yeah, it's a definite interesting time for you, but also a weird time because now you're just waiting. That whole sitting and waiting until what, the 15th of August to then figure out, well, have I got what I needed? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? What I think will happen with the grade boundaries, I'd actually say they're probably going to be very similar to how they were last year. I don't feel like it was any worse than last year's papers. I feel like they were definitely some questions which were easy accessible, some questions which were harder. So I feel like it's very much this is where it's kind of going. I could see that it was going to go to that level, and that's where they're at. But it comes down to how this cohort who sat it have actually done. But I feel like the grade boundaries, maybe one or two marks in it, but I feel like it's pretty much going to be at that level, would be my guess. But I don't know, to be honest. It's a hard one. It's a hard one to know. I'm not marking them this year. I didn't want to do the marking because actually I'm not gaining any more knowledge from marking them now. I've done that. I've got the CPD, I've got the professional development side of it done. I can think like an examiner. And so there's not really much in it apart from actually doing it to see how students write their answers. But I see that with my private tutees, so I don't really have any real gain from that side of things. Well, last year, let me just remind myself. What were the grades? Let me just double check. So you needed to get 187 out of 270 for the A star. So what's that? Hold on. I need my calculator. So what was it? 187. So that was last year overall, the A star was 69%. What uni did I study biology in? I went to the University of Dundee because I was living in Scotland still at that time. Um, but I didn't go till I was 20. I took a couple of years out because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so because of that, it meant that I took more time out. So I was in class as a mature student when I went to uni for the first time. And so it's that hard thing of I would say start as you mean to go on. We say that with A levels, we say that with degrees and stuff. But I was quite lucky. I didn't have to sit any exams in my first year of uni. And the reason being is because they gave us assignments which were learning and doing assessments through multiple choice questions, and you had to get a pass rate on that. And so if you did that, you didn't have to sit the written exam. And I'm really good at those sorts of things. So I didn't have to do any exams in the first year. And in the second year and third year, although I was interested in what I was learning, I didn't really fully engage until my final year because we did it for 4 years. Um, and so my final year was like I had to pass my exams and just pass them. But my final year, I really had to focus and do what was needed. And so that's what I did. And I did it and I managed it, but it was definitely an interesting time. And I would say that if I could go back, with everything that I've learned about myself and about how I learn and about what I need to do, I would say start early. So when I wrote my master's, when I started my master's, I was doing it as a 2-year course alongside full-time working, and I was head of department and I was deputy head of lower skill at the same time. Um, Now I realized being ADHD, that helps because I could do lots of different things. But one thing I would say is when I started my master's, I really did focus and set myself goals that I would do the assignments ahead of time, because I felt like they were so much more challenging. Whereas before, when I was in my final year of uni, I was still writing assignments the day before they were due in at 4 o'clock, and I was writing them right up to that last basically moment that I could submit it. And that's because I didn't realize for me, I need that compression of time. I need a deadline. I need to know when things have to be in. And I need that sense of urgency. And because I wasn't getting the sense of urgency, if I'm like, oh yeah, I've got work to do, but I can do it in like 4 weeks' time, I'll leave it until like the night before, the week before. And so one of the things that I would say to you is if you can and know how to do it, set deadlines which are earlier than whenever your deadline is. So if you need to do anything or if something happens and you therefore don't manage to get things done, you have that little bit of leeway. But if you leave it to last minute, you'll end up with like really late assignments or bad grades. I didn't get bad grades. I mean, I got good grades in my assessments, but they were all the way from an A one right the way down to a D because in uni they did also give you grades on that one. Um, so hold on, you want to know for the B? I was just working that out. Give me a second. So 100 was 59%. I've got a feeling it's going to go 49. Just double check that though. And then I'll come back and answer some questions. It's actually 50. So this was 50% to get a B. To get a C was just 60. What was that one? 187. 97. So that was your grade boundaries for 2024s. And actually, it wasn't that big a difference to previous years, apart from at the lower end, was actually the one that was struggling the most. And this is obviously all three papers added together. So each paper has got a different percentage, but this was the all three papers being added together. Oh, Daryl, hi. I've been meaning to actually message you because I've now freed up now. If you and Alex want to catch up. Oh, you're very welcome, Katrina. Yeah, A-level biology has already finished for those of you in year 13, but for those of you in year 12, actually it's important to go back and make sure that you are confident with the content that you need to know. Hot dog, to answer Yeti, to answer your question, how would I rate the papers? I actually haven't seen paper 3 yet. I still haven't seen the full paper. I've seen parts of it, and I know the questions roughly that were asked, but I haven't actually seen it myself to go through it. So far, I'd say paper 2 for me, I would say was harder, more because I don't know what they wanted. It seemed like a straightforward paper, but I feel like there was potentially very specific. I feel like that mark scheme is going to be specific compared to paper 1, but again, I don't know. I need to wait to see it come through. During my gap years were more, they weren't gap years as such. It was more I hated education. I hated learning. I hated doing anything that was about reading, which is hilarious that I became a teacher. But basically, I didn't realize I didn't know how to learn. And so because I didn't know how to learn, I found it really challenging and really hard. So I worked for Tesco for a year. I worked as an insurance underwriter for a year. I also worked in a nightclub at the same time. And then only when I was working in the nightclub, whilst doing all these other jobs, did I decide that this was pretty boring, not my cup of tea. And I decided to go to uni after that because I knew some friends who were at uni and they were having fun. I wanted to be a part of it. And so it was a toss of the coin one night whether I was going to go down the biology route or computer science route because I was really interested for some reason in computer science, even though I knew nothing about it, which is funny because that's what my partner does. But yeah, it was a toss of the coin which decided biology. And when I went to uni, I absolutely loved being with my friends. I loved doing all the stuff that you do as being a university student. But what was really interesting was that I got to the end of my third year of uni and I knew everything was counting on the fourth year. And I thought, what am I going to do with this degree? I don't really like being in the lab. It was okay, but it wasn't really what I was really passionate about. I didn't want to be doing conservation side of things because that was pretty boring for me. And plus, I lived in Scotland. It rained all the time, and it was wet and windy and horrible. So I didn't really want to do that. And I was volunteering at a youth hostel and helping young kids. And I really enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed being able to support them and figure things out. And so what I did was I thought, well, what could I do with my biology degree and with working with kids? And this is where the whole teaching came into the job prospect. And so therefore that's what I did. I applied to do my PGCE, but my PGCE, I had to move to England because they were going to pay me to study in England, whereas in Scotland, I would have to pay to go to university at that point. I mean, we're talking over 20 years now. And so I was very lucky. There was a bursary if I came down and learned how to teach science, and I had no clue about key stages. I didn't get GCSEs, A levels. I have no idea about any of that because I was from Scotland. I'd done biology, I'd done a higher in biology, and that's all I'd really done. I'd done a HNC in leisure management, but I didn't really know what it was that I wanted to do. But I thought I'd give it a shot. But funnily enough, I came down and the night before my interview at Cambridge, I was cramming the curriculum, the national curriculum, being like, what is it? Physics, chemistry, I don't know any of this. What do I have to teach? And I was so freaked out that they were going to assess me and ask me questions about that in the interview. And I can't really remember much about the interview side of things. I mean, they got me to stand up and do a presentation. They got me to um basically talk about my experiences, all these things that I'd done. But I think what they saw in me was that I was passionate and I could talk about things without having to do that much planning, although I do a lot of planning and a lot of work. But when it came to the gap years, I guess, it was more just I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I came to Cambridge and never left. And it's been like a whirlwind since then. Medical law now, but my UCAS is for biomedicine, so I may drop out then do law. Oh, that's interesting. I also, do you know, interesting, one of my summers, I was actually in the clearing helpline. So you guys who are doing your A levels and you therefore get your grades in August, you may decide to go through clearing and actually apply to university you didn't think that you could get into because you've now got the grades. And so I was the person who people didn't get the grades, I would try and find them a course, or people did get the grades, I therefore tried to find them the course and if there were spaces. So we basically had a system at Dundee University where you would phone up and I would ask you what you've got, I'd ask you what you'd be interested in, I'd have a list of questions to ask you, and I'd go through and try and find whether or not there was a course that you could actually apply to. And then it would be passed on to the head of the department who would then make a decision because they then look at your application that you put on UCAS. And so it's really interesting of you may think you've got a path you want to take right now, and that path may change. If you'd have said to me that I was going to take my biology degree and become a teacher, I would have laughed at you at the time. If you had said to me when I started teaching that I would have become up to assistant principal level, I wouldn't have believed you. If you'd have said to me I'd be a YouTuber and a TikToker and you name it, I would never have thought that was the case. Your paths can change in so many different ways. So the key thing is it's about you finding what works for you. So different universities offer different things. Now, when it comes to clearing, it depends what courses actually have spaces available. So clearing is really quite tough for medicine, and I have to say, it's not one that I ever had anyone apply for that I dealt with, but you've got to remember we're talking way back in 2002, 2003. I was in the clearing helpline. It's a long time ago. Things have changed since then. So it's important that you look at the systems that are there now. Um, but don't be afraid to call the universities and to speak to people to ask their advice on what they think you should do. But with regards to any qualification, so whether you've got A levels, whether you've got IB, whether you've got B Tech, whether you have got hires, whether you have got different kind of qualifications, it's all equates to points, and it's about what the university wants you to have the right number of points to therefore be able to accept you. But when you're a mature student, they actually have different criteria they look at, and that depends on the university. It's very different. The papers, Jokeman, to go back to your question, I definitely don't think the papers were harder. Having looked at those papers and looked at the papers, again, I haven't seen paper three, but from what I hear, paper three was the easier of the three. I don't think the papers were harder. Are all the biology papers marked? No, you get a 3 week window to do the marking. Oh, Tony, the piles will be huge because there's so much content. I just did my exams not too long ago, and your predictions. Oh, thank you, Ryan. So I'm just looking at what people are saying in case I've missed them here. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. If you get a degree, the thing is, when you do your whatever your first degree is, so my PGC that I did in science was after I'd done my BSc honours. So if you've got a degree and then you choose, so I know a lot of people who have got degrees in the likes of English and then are teaching drama, or they've got a degree in sports science and they're teaching PE. It just depends what you want to do. You get your degree first and then you go and you do your PGC, but you may actually choose to go to the first teach pathway. So basically where you go into a school and you learn how to be a teacher through a program within the skills. So there's lots of different skills who are part of the program. And it's just a different way of learning. So I went and did my PGC at Cambridge, but you may go to a school that offers it within the school and you get paid a wage, but you're also learning. So it's a case of you figure out what works for you. Medical sciences is an extremely good degree. It just depends what it is you want to do, and it depends what university you want to go to. What you have to realize is the different universities are going to have different things that different criteria they want. So it really just depends. Chidima, to answer your question, my group tuition sessions are £280 for the 7 weeks. And that's for 90 minutes. But also you get like homework. You get work to do that I will then give you personalized feedback on the work alongside the stuff that we do in the session. You get recording of each of the sessions. So if you miss one, you can obviously watch it back. And obviously, if you have been there and you want to just review a part of it, you can watch it back and you get a copy of all my resources as well. So yeah, that's what my sessions are going to be. So hopefully, it will be something that helps you, because what you have to realize with my sessions, it's a how'd you get on with the reference? Oh, but you're talking to me there, Amna. Thank you, Emily. It really depends. It depends on the university. It depends on the course. It depends on what your passions are and your strengths are. I don't think that there is a way of saying like this one's better than that one. It really depends what path you want to take. And so I would say if you're trying to decide which like degree to do, you've got to think about this is you for the next 4 years. You're going to have to put that effort in to study, to do the course, to learn the different things. So when I was doing my degree, I had to do chemistry, which I'd never done before. So that was really tough for me. I had to do environmental science, where we were looking at the different types of rocks, the different types. I identifying what I did not enjoy that very much. But I had to do it. So it was a way of me getting a stepping stone to the next level that I wanted to go to. Um, but it just depends what your next stepping stone is. Oh, Alicia, you're very welcome. Oh, okay. Well, if you're around and you want to catch up, Daryl, for a coffee, let me know. I'd be happy to um, meet up for a coffee if you're in about Cambridge. Oh, that's good. Do A levels matter? Do you know what? It depends. It depends what you want to do. I mean, the what A levels do is they kind of give you a shoe in for potentially arguing the case that you should be on a higher wage. But if you're going for an apprenticeship, then actually, if the company are willing to give you the training within their firm, then actually it doesn't really matter. It's that's the thing. You have many different pathways that you can take, and it just depends what you want to do. And every single person is different. And just because someone else has done something doesn't mean you have to do that. A levels help you get to whatever that next step is, which means you're just in a different rung in the ladder. So when I was going from being a just a teacher, for example, to being head of biology, it meant I had qualifications that therefore led to me going to a higher level in the hierarchy. But it really just depends where you want to go. When I left teaching, I was at the highest point I wanted to be. And when I say I left teaching, when I left to do this full time and trust in myself, I could have done this from the start, but would have had the qualifications to then have the knowledge and experience to do that. That's where it becomes a bit of a tricky situation. It depends where you're learning from. Well, again, that's one of the things that you would have to make that decision as to whether or not you want to do that. I've had many students who've done that, where they got what they wanted to get into where they want to go, but it's not what they want to do. So is it worth taking a year out and resitting to continue down the path you want to go? Maybe, but only you can make that decision. It really is about what you want to do, where you want to go, and how it's going to impact you later on in life. But no one else can make that decision for you, I'm afraid. It is that whole thing. Oh, I'm pleased I helped you. I want to help the year 12s. It's one of those things that I want to help as much as I can. So I'm going to keep doing my lives on a Wednesday every week. I'm still going to do my lives to help students because actually I know that one, not everybody can afford to pay for a tutor. I've tried to make my group tuitions as cheap as I can, but what I do to prepare for those sessions and the experience and what I can give to students in those sessions, which are small group sessions, they're not going to be huge, is where you actually are getting my expertise. But I want to help everyone as much as I can. So I will keep doing this and I will keep doing the free lives. I'll probably not do as many of them next year, I have to say, because I have to focus on me getting some downtime. And that's one of the things that I forget that I actually also need the downtime. So it's been quite nice the last couple of days, just taking some time to recharge group and get myself in a place where I'm like, right, ready to go again. Um, but it's exhausting. It is exhausting. It's exhausting you guys studying and doing that. And it's also exhausting that who knows what the future may hold. Well, and that's perfectly fine. If resitting is not for you, it's not for you. Don't feel like you have to do it. I had a student who um was a couple of marks off getting an A star. They did a resit and they were a couple of marks off getting the A star um this year after doing the resit. And they were like, should I get it remarked? I was like, why does it matter? Why does it matter if you've got what you need to get into university? And sometimes we can get hung up on, oh, but I wanted that A star, or I wanted the A, or I wanted the B, but you don't need it. So it's about your personal preference and it's about what difference will it make for you. What did I get for my um, grades? I got a B and three C's at AS level. So I only did hires for 1 year, AS equivalent, and I got a B and three C's. Now, has that stopped me getting to where I am today? No, but it just meant it took me a bit longer to get there. Thank you, Amna. Thank you. It's one of those things that so many people say they wish they'd found me. Some people found me 3 days after the first exam and came to tuition sessions with me from then on. But it's funny because I'm a year on now from doing the YouTube channel and doing the TikTok, and it's that whole thing of you can only get your name out there so much. I say this to students all the time. It's like, I'll say this, but you won't believe it until someone else says it, who's your peer. So it's a funny old game. The key thing, Sahib, is that you don't know until the results come in. I really hope you get exactly what you want to get to uni as well. And this is the thing, a lot of the time it comes down to the effort and the work that you've put in. It's a funny one, H. It's a really funny one because I get that. I understand. I used to believe that you had to get the highest grade, that I used to believe that it had to be 100%. You had to get 100%, otherwise you didn't know your stuff and you were rubbish and all this stuff. And actually now I realize that that was for me unattainable. I was never going to get 100% because I second guess and I overthink things and I have a very specific way in which I need to learn. Like I've been learning to do Adobe again. I'm really proud of myself, actually. I've been redoing some of my diagrams today, not just today, but the last couple of days. And so I've been learning some new skills. So I'll show you one of the ones that I started. So I want to obviously improve my diagrams and I want to improve what I am doing. And so therefore, I've been learning now what I've been learning to do is I've been learning to use Illustrator to make my diagrams better. So I've actually learned how to make this a better pattern. So it actually does it and I can draw much easier. But it's an interesting one because I've had to watch the same YouTube video. Like I have to pause it and then rewind and then pause it and then rewind and pause it and rewind about 10 times. And so I realize that that's how I do things. I'm very much I have to do it in small fragments. I think that's why my YouTube channel was very much small fragments. It was small videos. My lives that I do here are like an hour and a half, 2 hours, where I'll just talk and I'll chat away and things like that. But what's really interesting is when it comes to the intricate parts, I've had to really take it slow. And I get frustrated with myself that it takes me so long. But the skills that I'm learning, so the skills that I learned yesterday, hold on, let me open one that I did yesterday. Now, these are not finished at all. These are just me playing, but I was looking at things that's not the one I wanted to open. Hold on. DNA patching this one. These are things that take time. And so therefore you have to take the time to learn the skills. And so this is my newest DNA molecule that I was learning how to do. And so I'm very proud of myself. I watched a YouTube video on how to do it and then I made it. It's not what I want it to be yet, and I'm going to work at it, but it takes time. And so, yeah, it's about figuring out what works for you. Um, you find me literally the day before your the first paper exam. Wow, okay. Yeah, it's so hard. This is one of the things that the top universities, I was talking about this earlier because where I live in Cambridge, Cambridge is very unique in the fact that sixth form, you actually choose where you want to go in sixth form. And so therefore there's 16, 18 colleges in Cambridge that you can apply to for sixth form. So I used to be director of student progress for one of those sixth form colleges. And one of the things that I would say is that when you are applying to these top universities, what they will do, and top sixth form colleges, is they will cream off the top. They will take those with really high grades. And the reason they want those high grades is because they are very specific types of students. They'll obviously take other students as well. They won't just take those that have got the best grades. But the reason they've got high acceptance or high entry requirements, really, is what I'm trying to say, is because they know that they're going to produce a level of a student who will then go on and succeed for that university, saying they came from that university. And so therefore they have to ensure that the students that are coming in are also able to live up to the reputation of the university. And so it's one of those things that sometimes going to one of the top universities is not the right choice for you. If I'd have gone to Cambridge as an undergrad, I would not have succeeded at all. Going to Cambridge as a postgrad, completely fine, best way of learning for me. It was absolutely amazing, but I would not have succeeded as an undergrad. So therefore, it's about figuring out what's the right place for you. But all you can do now is wait, I think. Yeah, exactly. Backup plans and take some time. But when you get your results, if they're not where you want them to be, take some time out to just reflect and process that and to think. Don't do any knee-jerk reactions. Give yourself time to process it, to grieve it, and to also then think about what else you could do. It's not the end, it's just that you might have to take a different path. Thank you. I'm really proud of it too. I'm really proud of it because I was trying to show the different sides um of the strands, also the up and the down. And but what I want to do is I want to make it so that I can actually do it with the cutting, the cutting out of the different parts. So that's what my aim is, to try and get it so I can have, like, when I cut the gene out with the restriction in enzymes. I'm literally, yeah, it's kind of cool. I'm getting my dopamine by learning new things, which is lovely. Oh, I know the day, but do you know what, Tony? I will be panicking for you as well. And it's a weird one because I've got it in my calendar. I'm going to be, it's the week before I actually go on holiday, and I am going to be like knots in my stomach, not able to sleep that night, waiting to hear how you've all done. It's one of those things that I'm literally, I feel like it's me going through the process as well, because I try to put so much into my sessions to help you, but I know it's what you do and what you do, but I want to ensure that I've given everything I could to help you to succeed. So I feel like it's me too. Um, I believe the OCRs are going to be this, the grade boundaries are going to be the same this year. I don't feel they're going to change that much. Maybe one or two. What was my undergrad degree in? My undergrad was just a BSc honours in biology. But my first year of uni, I was with the basically we were with everybody. We were all in a lecture theatre. There was 1,000 of us, I want to say, in this lecture theatre, and there was anatomy and physiology students, there were zoology students, there were biomedical students, there were like so many different faculties, but we had like specific courses that we had to do together. And me and my best friend from university, we actually have two different degrees. She's got a BSc honours in zoology. She got a first. I've got a 2-1 in BSc honours in biology. And yet we did exactly the same modules the whole way through. And the reason we've got the same degrees but we did the same modules is they actually let me do a little tweaking because they wanted me to do a course and I really didn't want to do it. And so I asked them if I could change and do the same for the zoology degree, even though I was doing a BSc honours in biology. But because it was like picking and choosing the modules you wanted in your final year, they allowed me to do the same one. And so therefore we did exactly the same, but she's got one in zoology and I've got one in biology. And I have to say, the most boring course I ever had to do, module that we had to do, was about soil microbiomes. And now I'm like, oh, it'd be so interesting if I actually understood it back then when they were talking about rhizobium and rhizospheres and all this stuff. And I was like, I don't care. I'm really not interested. And now I'm like, oh, I've got to teach that sort of stuff. And it's funny, the things that you remember, the things that you learn at university, some of it sticks with you and some of it just does not. Um, I mean, one of the most amazing things that I did we did a field trip, which is part of our course where we had to go and do different things and then write up about this field trip. And we went to Loch Tay and it was awesome. We went and stayed in this kind of youth hostel type area. But it had like this beautiful scenery and it was like we did oh, was it Ben Lawes? We went up the hill climbing and stuff. One of the things that I thought was amazing, which I really loved, I've never forgotten, was I got to ring birds. So I actually got to put up mist nets so that the birds would fly at the mist nets. And then what we would do is those mist nets had like little pockets where the birds were caught in it, and we would have to go and we would check for them and we would get them out safely. And we had to hold them in what's called the ringer's grip. So you had the head up here and you would hold the legs down with the bottom of your fingers. And what we would then do is we would actually, like, we would weigh them, we would check their wing side, we would look at the plumage, and we would see what age roughly they were. And then we put a little metal ring which had a number on it. And then we'd release them back into the wild. And it was awesome. It was like so cool. We got so many different birds. And it's like when you see my resources, when I'm showing you pictures or I'm showing you the stuff that I've done, all of it is basically my own parts that I did whilst I was doing either my undergrad degree or my postgrad. So when I was doing my sampling, and my kick sampling picture, that was me when I was on a field trip to learn how to do field trips for students when I was doing my degree. And then when I was teaching in 2014, I went to Gamboa on holiday on my own to go and visit a friend who was out there. And the head of the zoology department, the professor in charge of zoology at Cambridge University, I went to stay at his house and their house that they had out there. And I got to work with some of the PhD students who were doing different things, like looking at the heliconia butterflies and trying to mate them and looking at the different patterns in their wings. And they were doing so many wonderful things. And I got to observe that. And they took me to the Smithsonian conference. We got on a bus and we went to Smithsonian conference, and somebody was talking about personalities in fish, and it was just phenomenal and fascinating that I got to be a part of that life just because I was visiting and I was seeing lots of different things. And I think that's the thing that I've learned more and more as I've got older, that learning is fascinating, but it's hard and you have to take the time. Like I went to one evening where they gave us they gave us a paper to read. So we all had this paper to read before we went to this evening where we had like nibbles and stuff. And then they just sat and discussed it. And this was like, it was so unique yet so weird to me because I'd never been a part of that kind of learning. I'd never been around, surrounded by people who like thrived with learning new things. And actually, understanding what it meant. And this was all before I had actually gone and done my master's. It was, yeah, it was great. It's funny not being on the live and not having the exams is a good thing. It's that whole thing of sometimes you don't know what to do with yourself. You spend such a long time doing like studying. What do you do now? What do you do? For me, it's learning new stuff, learning about how I can improve. And this is the thing that I never do the same thing over and over again. Whenever I'm learning things, whenever I'm teaching things, I could have the same PowerPoint for two classes, same ability. So let's say A level, both year 12, both year 13, same stuff, and yet I'll never teach it the same way. And they could be back-to-back lessons and they're never taught in the same way. I always adapt and I change everything that I do. It's never the same. Um, and I think that's the thing that I'm now okay with that. I know that what I do is helping students, and so therefore I don't have to plan to the nth degree because I would basically be planning until like midnight most nights, spending about four, and I still do sometimes, I spend about 4 odd hours on one lesson to ensure that it is top notch. So if I'm doing like, for example, my courses that I run, they were like a lot of hours spent planning, getting the resources, getting the questions. But then, as I always do, I get in the sessions and it depends on who I'm with. And I will then adapt to whoever's there. Oh, it's amazing, Darren. I'm like, it's one of those things that I guess I miss that slightly, not being within the school setting, because obviously I do everything online. So you guys are my students and are my peers, my coworkers, not really, because obviously I'm teaching you, but it's when you find someone who's passionate about what you're passionate about, or they've got passion that you didn't know that you could be passionate about, you kind of get a little bit of a flavor for it, and then you go and want to learn more. And then the conversations that you can have, it's like, oh, so Alan's always like saying to me something or other, and he'll say something, I'll be like, you sure about that? And I'll go and do the research. And so therefore, I'm like, okay, I now figured out something new. Oh, what else can I figure out now? Let's go and look at something else. And it's because it's thought provoking and it's engaging those neurons. I just love it. I'm like, I love it. And I'm like, I wonder what it'd be like to go back to uni and learn a new course. And I thought about actually doing psychology as an A level was another thing that I was thinking about. But it is that whole thing of, yeah, I don't know. Neuroscience is another one. I've got a book there that I've started reading and listening to, and I just love learning. I didn't think I did. I thought I thought I didn't like learning because I hate reading. I'm slow at reading. I switch things around and I get things mixed up sometimes, and so therefore I get distracted is more in the case. I'll read something, get distracted, and then forgot what I've read. So I have to read it again and again. But now I know that about myself. Now I know I make little notes, I make little flashcards, etc. It helps me. And that's really cool. Medicine is hard though. That's the thing. It's such a hard one. And so many facts you have to retain and memorize. But actually, what I love about it and is the fact that you do go and do more studying and you do just it's all about figuring new things out. I'm not sure anyone is actually revising. I was aiming tonight to be for year 12s, but it looks like it's all the year 13s that are back. Um, I would not recommend Oh, really? I have to say, I don't think I would enjoy the psychology side of things of writing the essays. But I would say that I feel like it's fascinating some of the things that you learn. What was it? Something that my Alan did the other day that made me laugh because I was like, "Are you trying to condition our child?" Um, I can't remember what it was, but it did make me chuckle. And it's those things that, what is this stream? This stream is just me now chatting away to whoever's here. Yeah, no, Chinema, you're like my one, you're my key one for next year. You're gonna have to be the new Amna, by the way. You're gonna have to ask me lots of questions. To answer your question about why does biological aging occur, well, you've got to remember that your cells are not able to regenerate forever. And so therefore, their capacity to regenerate gets less and less as you get older. And so therefore you stop making as many of the proteins, etc. So if you look at it, it's funny, my hair has got like specific areas. I went gray. It started going gray from the age of 17. So I started dyeing my hair. But then when I got pregnant with my eldest, I didn't have the chance to do dyeing of my hair, etc. I didn't have the time. And so now this is au natural, but you can see where the pigment's not being made. So therefore, this is no longer making pigment. I'm still making the hair, but the pigment's not being made. And so as you get older, it's the less of the proteins are being produced. And it just depends what they are. But this is also what happens when you teach. It's good to take a break, but also at the same time, it's for me, I am having a break. You got to remember, I've gone from having 18 hours of students during the day who've all now finished their exam periods. I've got all this time back during the day that I can actually now focus on other things. Today, I went for a walk. We went for a 2 hour walk down by the the River Cam, which was lovely. It was really nice. Although I think I was being a bit frustrating because I kept trying to stop and take lots of photos. So I'm like, oh, look at this dragonfly. Oh, look at this damselfly. Oh, there's a nice pretty picture of a flower. And so I'm just constantly taking photos. Oh, interesting, Dara. I'm not actually sure on that one. Let me look it up. This is the thing, like I love the fact that that's the whole bit about. Well, the telomeres obviously get shorter as the more replication occurs, your telomeres get shorter, but I'm not entirely sure exactly why or how that has a link to aging. Yeah, the shortening of the telomeres is one of the key ones. Oh, you're very welcome, Charlotte. You're very welcome. Go and enjoy your evening. It's a funny one. Post A level PTSD is definitely something that is a thing that a lot of people are feeling right now. But it's that whole thing of you don't know. You don't know how you've done. You don't know what's going on. So that you're just sitting there waiting and hoping, but also worrying. Um, yeah, so DNA damage due to radiation, toxins, replication errors is one of the things. Obviously, the telomeres, as Daryl mentioned. Then you've got your changes to the gene expression, so epigenetic side of things as well. Um, so many different things. Um, so yeah, it just depends. There's lots of different things that can cause it. Hey, Daryl, you need to check out my, if you're still there, you need to check out my website now. Give me your thoughts on the website. How many things have changed? That's the other thing. I've been spending time sorting out my website, trying to make it look nicer. That again is learning. I'm learning how to do websites. Thank you. Hey, you should have been there. If you'd have been doing your A levels this year, I literally predicted most of what would come on the paper three. I mean, I've kind of predicted for paper one and paper two, but just in different ways. A funny one. I keep waiting for the paper three so I can sit down and do it as if I'm a student and see how I got on. I needed those last year. No, you didn't. You didn't need them at all. You just had to believe in yourself and actually write your answers in a more detailed and condensed way is how I would put it for you. I think I'm only going to go for another 2 minutes, guys. I'm going to actually limit myself tonight on that I will do an hour. An hour. It's crazy. I've been on here for nearly an hour now. I used to just get into lessons and just talk, didn't I? That's the thing. I've never struggled with being able to talk about different topic areas. And when you're passionate about something or when you really enjoy something, I love biology. Like I honestly walk outside my house and all I see around me is constantly looking at what I can use and what I can talk about and what's going on and thinking about how it all interlinks together. It's just the world is so is it it's been a really weird one tonight. So just before I came on here, I hadn't had any dinner, and Alan made me a burger. And I was thinking, I was listening to it sizzling away in the kitchen whilst I was waiting, thinking, oh, I wonder if I'll be able to eat it before I come in. And whilst it was cooking, I was then thinking about the fact of I could hear him checking whether it had reached the temperature it needed to get to. And in my head, I was going, oh, interesting. I wonder, when did the first ever human or Australopithecine realize that if you heated and cooked the food to what level it needed to be cooked at to stop you from getting sick? And why is it now like we talk about cooking things to a set level? So we've got obviously the temperature, we've got a thermometer, we use our meat thermometer all the time. And I'm like thinking about the fact that they didn't have this equipment, they didn't have this technology. So how did they know? But other animals don't cook their food and they eat them raw. So if you're a carnivore and you're feeding on an animal and you are eating the meat, that meat isn't cooked. And it's just so many things that I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's a paper on that. Oh, I wonder if someone studied that. Is there any evidence? When did it come? And all these different things. And it's just that's where my brain goes to. I'm like, I always think about where the science is around us and how science can explain all the different things. And I find it quite difficult for students because students say they hate science. And I used to say this to GCSE lot all the time. They're like, I don't need science. I never need science. Science isn't important. But science is every part of your life. Like right now, it feels really muggy, for want of a better way of putting it. It feels really muggy. And what it is it's humid. There is more water vapor in the atmosphere. And because of that, it means that I'm not able to cool down as much as I would do because there's not that much space for the evaporation. So because of that, it's causing a concentration. Like there's so many things that are so interlinked. It's just, oh, I love it. I love science. I love the way it's like so interlinked. It's amazing. And then I just talk about random stuff and I ramble. Um, but guys, thank you so much for those of you who have been with me and joined me and who have been a part of the journey this year. I mean, I can't believe I'm only what, 1 year and 11 days on from this YouTube channel, and it has grown massively. It's really sad though as well at the same time, because every year at the end of the year I lose some students because they're like, oh, I don't need to follow her anymore. I don't need to subscribe. And I'm like, that makes me sad. But at the same time, I'm like, those birds are flying off. They're leaving the nest. They don't need my help anymore. But I do hope that everybody gets what they need for moving forward. And those who don't, to know that they just need to rethink what their path and what their plan is. That's the thing I would say. It's been so many different ways that I've gone to get to where I am today. It wasn't a straight path. For some people it is. For some people it's from A to B, but for me it's A to B to C to D to E to F to Z and back to B again. Oh, thank you, Amna. That's lovely. The key thing is helping others as well, because each year new students come around and then they're like, oh, I didn't know it, I didn't find your resources. And I always want to make sure that resources are up to date. So that's my next thing, is to go and start doing some more to add in extra ones. And I also need to decide whether I'm going to do long form ones or not. These ones are where I literally talk forever, but I'm not sure whether the short ones are better for students, because then you can just go to that topic area, or whether I should do long ones, which are module 5 for mono communication, for example, because it's so interlinked. I'm like, I don't know. I need to figure that one out. But I also need to work on the rest of the workbooks. That's the job. That's why I'm learning Adobe again. I'm learning Adobe so that I can go back and keep doing the workbooks. This is my nucleic acid nucleotide one that I'm working on. Yeah, I think I will do a mix of both. I think that's what my plan is, to try and basically, yeah, do that mix, do a bit of both, but at the same time, I could just talk for hours on each topic area. Wow, that was loud. I don't know if you guys heard the birds. That's one thing I love as well about the summer. You just hear the birds chirping away. We were out camping this weekend and all I could hear was the birds in the morning. Emanuela, bless you. Remember, it's always a bell curve. There's always going to be a bell curve. It's the way it always works. Right, I am going to finish, I think, for tonight. I will be back again in next Wednesday. I will be back again. I'll do another live next Wednesday. And yeah, guys, keep going. Enjoy your summer, enjoy your break. Try not to think about what's going to happen on the 15th, and just enjoy the time that you have, because you won't get this back. And that's the thing. So many people say that and you're like, yeah, all right, whatever. And then actually you blink and it's gone. You're very welcome. It's been lovely chatting with you, Amna. You take care of yourself, all of you, and I will see you next time.